What's going on, guys? Your boy Amazing. We're back with another video, and in today's video, guys, me doing the updated December tier list for you guys for all the PVE characters in the game. We're going to be going over the characters that just came out in the past month, guys. All four of the characters here being the Hakan, the Elatte, the Queen Elizabeth, and the LR Margaret, and we're going to be ranking them on my PVE tier list right here that I made from last month, and we're going to continue with the actual tier list itself by adding onto it with these four characters. So let's hop into the video. Before we actually hop into the video, make sure to subscribe to your boy Amazing. We are on the road to the 40,000 subscribers, guys. We are almost halfway there from the 1,000 subscribers. We're like literally 500 subscribers, I think, away now at this point, guys. We're definitely closing in on that 40k. So if you guys have not hit that subscribe button already, man, definitely make sure to. And with that out of the way, guys, let's hop in and let's discuss the characters here that we're going to be ranking. So Hakan is the first character here, guys. I actually do have him pulled up on my Grand Cross account right here. So let's actually zoom out and let's talk about the Hakan and what he does, and then where I kind of rate him on the tier list. Alright, guys, so Hakan was the first character that came out that I didn't put on last month's tier list. So for the Hakan for what he does, he actually is just going to increase allies defense by 50%. That's all he's really doing, and he works from the back. So he is, you know, like a backline defense support type character, and I mean, that's pretty good, but it's not really going to be providing too much. Other than that, he does have a damage dealt buff card, which, you know, we've never seen a only damage dealt buff card. So there has, you know, there is some value in that, but it's nothing too crazy. He also does have pure single target, which is not really a crazy skill either, and then he has his expel ultimate. So honestly, for my rating for Hakan, I'm actually going to move back to the tier list here. For my rating for him, he's probably going to go in probably not even really viable in PvE, right? But you got to think about it, right? This is PvE content we're thinking about, right? Where am I using a defense backline in PvE? Probably never. I don't think I'm ever really going to be using Hakan in any type of PvE content because there's no real like meta defense team that you run in PvE at the very least. Maybe for like a defense farming team with Naofumi, but like that's a stretch, right? That's actually a stretch. So I don't think that Hakan is really going to be doing anything for the actual game itself and isn't really going to be providing too much. So I'm actually going to rate him in the not viable in PvE content you know, tier right there. Alright, guys, so here is the Celestial Elatte that actually came out right after the Oslo and Hawk, and this character came out with LR Margaret as well alongside that update 2 weeks before the Queen Elizabeth celebration. And so for this Celestial Elatte, for what she actually does, she increases basic stats of goddess allies by 5% for every goddess ally participating in the battle, and it increases goddess allies damage dealt by 3% for every buff applied to the goddess allies limit of 8 times. So this is definitely a really strong passive, guys. You know, thinking about backlines for goddesses, we really don't have many other than like Tristan, and you know, there's a few others. Like you can run Nanashi and stuff too, right? But like this is like a dedicated goddess backline that actually matters a lot, right? It's 15% basic stats in you know, when you're not doing like a demonic piece. If it's just like 3 people in the front, if you're doing a demonic piece, it's 20% basic stats, which is really good. And then the damage dealt can go up to, what is that, 8, 16, 24% basic stat or damage dealt, right? Which is obviously very good. So that's the passive is really good right there. She has gauge reduction single target on her first skill, which is a pretty good, you know, effect in PvE. She does also have a healing skill which can cleanse on the rank 2, which is very nice. And then Elatte's Holy Relic here is going to be made for the Knighthood Guild boss, where it's actually going to increase allies basic stats by 3% every time the hero uses a skill in Knighthood boss battle, limit of 5 times, which I think is very good. You know, combo that with the basic stats for goddesses in, you know, PvE content or in anything, right? Because it says in all, and it also can be used in a sub slot. This is good because that means you can have really good success with her on guild boss, and she'd probably be a good replacement for like Red Sariel on the team, right? Just for like a basic stat setup. And then for her ultimate here, she's also going to have remove debuffs from all allies and grant debuff immunity, and then increase defense related stats by a specific amount depending on the dupe. So very good stuff right there. So yeah, guys, I mean, the Elatte is a pretty good character. On the actual tier list here, let's actually rate her and you know, where I'd actually place her on the tier list. I think she actually is a very good PvE character. The problem is with her is that she doesn't really have too many spots where you're actually going to be using her like that. I think she is kind of a niche character, right? You're going to use her in guild boss. I think she's going to have success there. She has the buff card and all of that, right? But other than that, you're not really going to see too much success out of using her in other things. And I think she would go in the same kind of spot as like Red Sariel, where, you know, you're trying to have like a basic stat oriented team for like whatever content you're trying to do. And like, you know, Elatte is good for that because you can run her on, you know, any demonic beast battle. She does provide, you know, the 20% basic stats as long as you're running full goddess characters, and obviously that is definitely a good benefit. But but I mean, other than that, you're not really going to be seeing too much of a difference right there for her specifically. So yeah, I mean, I think she's good. She also has the knighthood boss viability, and it's kind of the same with like where I ranked Cocatus from last month. Because Cocatus is like a really good guild boss unit, then we can kind of like slot in Elatte, and she does make a lot of sense to where, you know, she's going to be a good goddess character for the basic stat team that gets a ton of points on like Akumu and like Kelik, right, on the hell difficulties. So definitely a very good character. And then you know, alongside that, she can be run on demonic beast battle, so that gives her like at least the B tier, right? She definitely could be argued for this tier right here, but you know, the problem is with that is that you're not really running her on every single team that you'd run in PvE unless it's a full goddess team, right? That's when you actually do get the full benefit. Alright guys, moving on to the next character here, we got LR Margaret. Now for LR Margaret here, what she's actually doing after LR, she's actually going to be increasing basic stats up to 40% every time you use a buffer or stand skill, which is going to be 8%, right? This was on the original Margaret before LR, but then after she got LR, she also got goddess allies crit chance and crit damage by 4% for each debuff removed from the hero's skill use, and that can go up to 5 times to get a total of 20% crit chance and crit damage, which is definitely very good. She also does have a you know, crit resistance lower on her charge AoE skill, and the scaling on the actual percents there actually to go up, so it's 143 now, 215 and 358, and then a 2-turn 50% critical resistance at rank 3. So that's definitely very good. And then her other skill here, guys, is going to be her you know, her cleanse buff card, and they actually did buff the rank 2 and the rank 3 to have a lot more, you know, effects going on there in terms of the amount of damage dealt and damage reduction you're going to be getting, which is good. So definitely a really good buff right there for LR Margaret herself. And then her holy relic is going to be the same, where it's, you know, for each ally in the 4 archangels on the battlefield, increases the hero's damage dealt to enemies by 5% and decreases the hero's damage taken. And then her ultimate here, guys, does actually increase the enemy's damage taken by 50%, and then does the sever effect and block affecting at 6 out of 6 if you do have the max amount of ultimate or max amount of dupes, right? So yeah, that pretty much covers Margaret right there. Now, where would we actually rank her on the tier list, guys? In terms of my ranking for LR Margaret, I think she goes in the same spot as a regular Margaret. It's a thing of like, if you're gonna be running this Margaret, like, she's good, but the red Margaret is actually just better for Nidhogg because her passive is catered towards that. This LR Margaret can be used on the other demonic beast battles, and she's good. You know, I mean, other than that though, you're not really gonna get too much success out of her. She is still another guild boss character as well, because she increases basic stats for goddess team. So, you know, she does have that viability of being used in a lot of PvE content, and because of that, you know, she's in the same spot as Margaret, but she doesn't go higher than Margaret. She fits kind of the exact same role, guys, and doesn't really change too much from what she was already doing as regular Margaret, so I don't think she needs to go in like the S tier or anything like that. I think she does take the same spot as Margaret, and it's a very minuscule increase in terms of like what you're actually getting in PvE, considering it's not extra, you know, basic stats, it's just extra crit chance and crit damage, and then obviously Margaret's going to be hitting a little bit harder. So that's pretty much the idea you're going to be getting when making her LR. So for PvE, she's the exact same tier as the regular Margaret. Alright guys, now moving on to the Queen Elizabeth here, which is going to be the last character we're actually ranking on the tier list here. So let's actually pull up Queen Elizabeth. I think Queen Elizabeth in PvE is actually not a bad character, but she's more of a PvP oriented character, guys, in terms of what she's trying to do. So for her skills here, she has punishment single target, which is going to be 3 times pierce rate increase, 20% damage dealt for every goddess wrath on self, and that's going to be, you know, coincide when we actually get to her passive here. She inflicts fury damage equal to 120 all the way up to the 300%, and then by the way, the punishment goes up to 500 as well. Yeah, and then for the AoE effect here, it's going to be 1% additional damage for every percent of remaining HP on self, so pretty much like an upgraded flood, and then 50% damage dealt when goddess wrath is at its max stat. So very, very good for like the sub effect right there. And then for her passive here, guys, applies intervention of light on the enemies for 2 turns at the start of the battle, increases all stats of the hero by 7% for each applicable ally participating in the battle. In addition, the hero gains goddess wrath when an applicable ally uses an attack skill, and if the hero uses a single target attack skill at max stacks of goddess wrath, it removes stances from the target and applies stun for 1 turn. Then all goddess wrath effects are removed. So yeah, the intervention of light is going to be attack related stats minus 10%, and then removes 1 orb of the target's ultimate move gauge when inflicting damage with enemies of 3 or more ultimate move. And then the applicable allies are going to be goddess, human, 7 deadly sins characters, and then goddess wrath is going to be 6% attack related stats and can be stacked up to 4 times. So that is pretty much the kit right there of the Elizabeth, guys. And then her ultimate here, depending on your dupes, if you get really high dupes, you can get a very big bonus of having, you know, revive for your allies for up to 10 turns, which is very very good. Obviously, you do have damage reduction for all your allies depending on your dupes as well. For the actual base part of the ultimate though, it's going to increase the hero's attack related stats by a certain amount and inflict damage equal to a certain amount of percent of attack depending on the dupes, and then applies intervention of life for 2 turns. This is going to be on all the dupe levels. And then yeah, obviously the God's protection is going to scale up as I mentioned with the turn count, same with the amount of damage reduction you actually do gain as well. So for my ranking for this Elizabeth right here, I don't know exactly where I'm going to put her on the tier list. Let's actually open up the tier list here. I do think that she's a good PvE character, but she's not going to be better than LR Liz and not anything close. I think if anything, she goes in the niche tier. She can definitely be used in some PvE content, but I don't think she's going to be in the upper echelon of like PvE clearing characters. If you guys saw my, you know, my bird and my deer showcase of Elizabeth, you know, every time I mentioned in that video that she is doing a lot of damage and the God's team is great, but the thing is that LR Elizabeth is just a completely better character in all content across PvE content. Like, you can definitely use this Elizabeth if you don't have LR Liz, but she's not going to completely replace what LR Liz is doing for the team. And so because of that, I don't think she's going to be providing, you know, the most amount to your actual team to be clearing and doing better in PvE versus, like, you know, any of the characters in this year or anything higher. Right, so I think the Elizabeth is good and she has her niche use, but it's really, you know, a situation where you can use her, but there's better options across the board, right? There's just so much better options. He's in kind of the same boat as like Light Liz, where like Light Liz has like Guild Boss, but that's literally it. This Elizabeth has like, you know, maybe on Demonic Beast, and that's like it, right? It's kind of that exact idea where like she doesn't really have a place to be used, and so because of that, I actually am going to give her the B tier with the niche use in most content, or is made for one specific content, because she doesn't really have a place in PvE, as she is mainly a PvP character, right? She's mainly going to be a PvP character, so you're not going to actually be using her in PvE content. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for the tier list. I hope you guys did enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe as always, and comment down below what you guys think about my placings and where you actually place the characters yourself, and if there's anything else that you think I should change with the tier list. But that's going to be pretty much it for the video. I hope you guys do enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe as always. If you guys want to see more videos like this, definitely let me know in the comment section below, and I'm going to see you guys in the next video, man. Peace out, and have a good rest of your day, guys. See you later, man.